A new farm bill. If you transform the food system, you transform everything. Written and narrated by Stephen Leslie. Part 1. Corn and soy. Oh boy. In a more perfect world, the much anticipated passage of a new farm bill would present us with an opportunity to radically transform the way food is produced and forests are managed in the USA. Instead, we find ourselves under the thumb of an increasingly authoritarian-leaning administration that favors giant corporate industrial agricultural interests to the detriment of thousands of small and mid-sized family farms who face a growing economic crisis. The new farm bill coming out of a paralyzed Congress represents a perpetuation of a broken system that does nothing to address essential issues such as resilience and adaptation to a changing climate, fair prices, just access to land and credit, soil loss, or the alarming trend of more and more farmland being gobbled up by corporate investors. Our republic is founded on the principle that the government is charged by the citizens with a solemn duty to protect our health, welfare, and environment. As outlined in the founding documents of the original Soil Conservation Service, the federal government has the ultimate fiduciary responsibility to protect and restore our soil resources. Industrial agriculture in the U.S. is fully subsidized to the tune of 11.8 billion, the amount paid out in 2024 to farmers through crop insurance programs. Supply chain challenges and unpredictable weather patterns directly resulting from climate instability reveal that small, diversified farms, which receive virtually no subsidies, have real and measurable potential for greater resilience in the face of increasing disruptions. When a very lost expedition of three Spanish galleons, piloted by the conquistador Cristobal Colon, washed up on the shores of Hispaniola, corn, maize, had been under cultivation in the Western Hemisphere for more than 7,000 years. In 1492, maize was planted along a 6,000-mile range that spanned North and South America. There were thousands of distinct varieties suitable to every microclimate. Today, the current annual value of the U.S. corn crop tops $50 billion, and yet the average corn commodity grower would lose money on his or her crop without the government subsidies being shelled out for every acre grown. Each year, Americans directly consume more than 2 million tons of corn, most of it being delivered in a vast array of ultra-processed foods, ranging from sodas to cereals. If food comes in a package, it probably has some form of corn in the ingredients. The animals that we eat are corn-fed as well, consuming upwards of 160 million tons in a single year. The combination of seed hybridization, liquid nitrogen fertilizer, and petroleum-based pesticides, gene-sliced herbicide resistance, and monster farm machinery have combined to raise yields in the Corn Belt to exceed 200 bushels per acre. For historical context, the average yield in 1920 was 30 bushels per acre. In 1960, it was 125. USDA Census reports there are currently 2 million farms in the U.S., occupying 874 million ag acres. In 2019, the USDA reported that the average farm income was negative $1,200. The average U.S. farm manages about 444 acres. The total risk management assessment, RMA, crop insurance subsidy payments in 2024 paid out to farmers was 11.8 billion. These payments went to roughly 50% of all farms, about 1 million, with 10% of the biggest and wealthiest farms receiving 90% of the payments. The average crop insurance payment per acre was $224. If the RMA payments were distributed evenly to every farm in the country, all farmers could be supported with annual payments to adopt soil health practices. The problem is the way the RMAs actually get paid out. Corn receives 60% of annual RMA payments. Soy receives 25% of annual RMA payments. We often hear the claim that U.S. farmers are feeding the world. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, has found that 70% of the food grown to feed people comes from farms of 25 hectares or less, while the USDA is handing out 85% of crop subsidies to commodity corn and soy farmers. Only 4% of Farm Bill payments are going out to fruit and vegetable growers. Meanwhile, in 2021, the U.S. imported 60% of our fresh fruit and 38% of our vegetables. In 2019, we imported $15.7 billion worth of produce from Mexico, and by 2023, that number increased to 21 billion. Corn and soy are grown for animal feed, high fructose corn syrup, oils, starches, and biofuel. 40% of corn goes to ethanol, 30% goes to livestock feed and processed foods. 30% is sold to China so their growing middle class can consume more meat. Crop insurance takes as its measure the farm's previous history of yields. It incentivizes for overproduction. It favors monocultures. It discourages soil building practices that might have a negative impact on maximum yields. One-third of annual synthetic nitrogen applications go to cover for the loss of soil fertility from the previous year. The extraction of atmospheric nitrogen and mining of phosphorus are both major contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. Glyphosate is poisoning the soil biome, and neonics are a major instigator of insect Armageddon. Currently, it is estimated that soy and corn farms in the Midwest are losing on average 5 tons per acre of soil per year. Eutrophication and deoxygenation of our waterways is a serious and growing threat to biodiversity directly linked to the use of nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizers. The giant dead zone, an area of low to no oxygen, hypoxia, that can kill fish and marine life in the Gulf of Mexico, is the catastrophic consequence of fertilizer use in the drainage of the Mississippi River. In 2024, at its peak, the dead zone covered an area of approximately 6,705 square miles. This figure equates to more than 4 million acres of habitat potentially unavailable to fish and bottom species in an area roughly the size of New Jersey. Increasingly, crop insurance is being paid out to compensate for the effects of climate-fueled disasters. Much of the 4.2 billion spent on crop insurance in 2019 was for delayed planting payments due to the extreme flooding events along the Missouri River. Reforming crop insurance is critical to saving soil in the U.S. Eligibility for crop insurance and commodity subsidies can be directly tied to the adoption of conservation practices. Going forward, all coverage would be converted from single crop to whole farm insurance, where the farm's previous history of total revenue is the baseline for compensation instead of yields. And diversified, specialty, and innovative agroecological cropping systems should be prioritized. If just 5% of the U.S. 2024 defense budget of $8.5 billion was diverted to supporting a transition to organic regenerative agriculture, an additional $42 million would be available to kickstart a rural renaissance. Revenue for conservation programs can be raised through an increase in taxation fees on chemical fertilizers and pesticides. While on the one hand, conventional farmers would see an increase on chemical inputs, on the other hand, they would be eligible for incentives to adopt soil health practices. This taxation could operate similar to taxes placed on the sale of tobacco products, with revenue accrued devoted to technical and financial assistance to aid farmers in transition. Given the unprecedented disparity of wealth in the U.S., a return to a progressive federal income tax rate could also provide abundant funding for a progressive farm bill, as well as universal health care, child care, and free higher education. We ought to demand that the next farm bill funnel a higher percentage of dollars to fully fund the Conservation Stewardship Program and to ensure that Environmental Quality Incentive Program dollars are not simply spent to prop up large farm operations, but rather operate on a mandate to grant stimulus to those farms that adopt holistic soil health systems.